You're walking alone at night, the silence broken only by the echo of your own footsteps along the sidewalk. The streetlights flicker, you glance around, and there he is. Standing still, completely motionless, a frozen smile carved onto his face, eyes wide open, locked onto yours. He doesn't speak, he doesn't move, he only smiles. This is the essence of the urban legend that's haunted the backstreets of the United States since the 1960s. The Grinning Man. A figure so surreal and bizarre that people don't even know how to classify him. Is he a ghost? An alien? Something beyond human comprehension? What makes this story so disturbing is that it didn't originate on the internet or in obscure horror forums. It came from documented testimonies studied by ufologists and paranormal researchers. Our story begins on a chilly November evening in 1966, deep in the heart of West Virginia. The air was thick with the kind of silence that only comes late at night, broken only by the distant hum of insects and the occasional rustle of wind through the trees. The roads winding through the Appalachian hills were nearly deserted, just ribbons of asphalt stretching into the darkness, illuminated by the faint glow of streetlights and the occasional passing car. It was the kind of night where anything seemed possible, and for one man, the impossible was about to become reality. Woodrow Derenberger, a traveling salesman, was making his way home after a long day on the road. As he drove along the lonely stretch of Route 77, his headlights cut through the darkness, revealing nothing but empty pavement ahead. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a strange metallic object appeared in the sky. It moved with a smooth, deliberate motion, descending rapidly until it hovered just above the road. Without warning, it landed directly in front of Derenberger's car, forcing him to a sudden, heart-pounding stop. The object was unlike anything he had ever seen, shiny, seamless, and utterly silent, as if it had materialized from another world. As Derenberger sat frozen in his seat, the door of the craft slid open. From within, a figure stepped out, tall, slender, and unmistakably humanoid, yet not quite human. The being's clothing shimmered under the streetlights, reflecting the world in strange, distorted patterns. Its skin was unnaturally smooth and tight, almost as if it were stretched over a mannequin. But what struck Derenberger most was the figure's face, a wide, fixed grin that seemed to stretch impossibly across its features, unmoving and unsettling. The eyes, too, were intense, piercing, almost hypnotic, as if they could see straight into his thoughts. The stranger approached Derenberger's car with a calm, almost friendly demeanor. Without moving his lips, he introduced himself as Indrid Cold. The words echoed directly in Derenberger's mind, clear and unmistakable. He realized, with a jolt, that the being was communicating telepathically. Indrid Cold explained that he was a visitor from another planet, here not to harm, but to observe and learn about humanity. He reassured Derenberger, insisting that there was no reason to be afraid. The conversation, though brief, was deeply unsettling. Derenberger could feel the stranger's presence inside his mind, probing gently, as if searching for understanding. When the encounter ended, Indrid Cold returned to his craft and vanished into the night sky, leaving Derenberger alone on the dark highway, forever changed. That night would mark the beginning of a series of strange and inexplicable events that would haunt Derenberger and the small town of Point Pleasant for years to come. The first encounter was only the beginning, and the mysteries that followed would challenge everything people thought they knew about reality. Soon after Derenberger's encounter, a wave of eerily similar reports began to surface, not just in his hometown but from cities and small towns scattered all across the United States. It was as if a silent alarm had been triggered, and people everywhere were suddenly compelled to share their own chilling experiences. News outlets started picking up on the pattern, and local police departments found themselves fielding calls from frightened residents describing the same bizarre figure. The phenomenon was no longer isolated, it was spreading, and fast. Different people in different states all describing the same figure, tall, in a suit, with that same disturbing grin stretched unnaturally across his face and wide, unblinking eyes. Some described him as impossibly thin, his movements stiff and unnatural, as if he were a puppet being guided by invisible strings. Others insisted that his eyes seemed to glow faintly in the darkness, reflecting the streetlights in a way that no human eyes ever could. The details varied, but the core image remained the same. A man who didn't quite belong, whose presence sent a chill down the spine of anyone who saw him. Some said he only appeared at night, standing at intersections or in dark alleyways, never making a sound, only watching, smiling. Witnesses described the way he would stand perfectly still, his gaze fixed on them, as if he was waiting for something, or someone. A few people claimed they saw him vanish into thin air when they tried to approach, while others said he simply melted into the shadows, leaving behind only the memory of that haunting smile. The encounters were brief, but the fear lingered long after. Others claimed he whispered to them, without moving his lips. The words, they said, seemed to echo directly inside their heads, bypassing their ears entirely. Some described the whispers as unintelligible, a jumble of sounds that made no sense, while others swore they heard their own names or chilling warnings about things yet to come. The effect was always the same, a deep, bone-chilling sense of dread, as if something ancient and unknowable had taken notice of them. In many cases, after the encounter, victims experienced nausea, memory blackouts, and even sleep paralysis for weeks on end. Some reported vivid nightmares in which the Grinning Man would appear at the foot of their bed, watching silently as they struggled to wake up. Others found themselves unable to remember entire chunks of time, as if the encounter had erased part of their memory. Doctors and psychologists were baffled, unable to find any physical explanation for the symptoms. For those who had seen him, life would never be the same, their nights haunted by the memory of a smile that was anything but friendly. But here's the truly terrifying part. The name Indrid Cold appeared in over 10 separate accounts, reported by people who had never met or even heard of one another. Some witnesses said he appeared shortly before tragic events or accidents, like a warning or a harbinger of disaster. This led many to believe the Smiling Man isn't just linked to extraterrestrial phenomena, but also to supernatural omens or even interdimensional manifestations. And it gets darker. The story of Indrid Cold, already shrouded in mystery and fear, takes an even more unsettling turn when we look at the strange connections to another legendary figure, the Mothman. As the nights grew longer and the air thickened with unease, whispers began to circulate among the residents of Point Pleasant, West Virginia. People wondered if these two enigmatic entities were somehow linked, their appearances not just a coincidence, but part of a larger, more disturbing pattern. Some ufologists believe Indrid Cold is connected to another infamous figure, the Mothman. Both are described as otherworldly, both appeared to ordinary people in the dead of night, and both left behind a trail of confusion, fear, and unanswered questions. The Mothman, with its glowing red eyes and massive wings, was said to haunt the skies and abandoned buildings, while Indrid Cold, the Smiling Man, appeared on lonely roads, his grin never fading. Could these two beings be messengers from the same unknown realm, or even different faces of the same phenomenon? That creature also appeared in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, during the same time period. The timelines match, the locations overlap. In the late 1960s, Point Pleasant became the epicenter of bizarre sightings and inexplicable events. Residents reported seeing the Mothman lurking near the old TNT area, while others described chilling encounters with a grinning stranger who seemed to know things no human should. The overlap in both time and place is impossible to ignore. It's as if the town itself became a magnet for the unexplainable, drawing in forces that defied logic and reason. And then came the most chilling coincidence, one that would forever change the town's history and cement its place in the annals of American folklore. As sightings of both the Mothman and the Smiling Man reached their peak, a sense of dread settled over Point Pleasant. People felt watched, uneasy, as if something terrible was about to happen. The air was thick with anticipation and fear, and no one could shake the feeling that these apparitions were trying to send a message, a warning that went unheeded. Shortly after the surge in sightings, the Silver Bridge, which connected two cities across the Ohio River, suddenly collapsed, killing 46 people. The disaster struck without warning, leaving the community in shock and mourning. Many couldn't help but connect the dots, the strange visitors, the mounting sense of doom, and the catastrophic event that followed. Was it all just a tragic coincidence, or was there something more sinister at play? To this day, the collapse of the Silver Bridge is seen by many as the final, tragic chapter in a series of supernatural warnings that went unrecognized until it was too late. Many believe that the Smiling Man was a warning, a harbinger of disaster, sent to alert the town to an impending tragedy. Some say his eerie smile was not one of malice but of sorrow, a desperate attempt to communicate a danger that humans could not comprehend. The stories of those who encountered him are filled with a sense of urgency and confusion, as if they were being told something vital, but in a language they could never hope to understand. One that no one could understand until it was far too late. The connection between Indrid Cold and the Mothman remains one of the most haunting mysteries in American folklore, a chilling reminder that sometimes the warnings we receive are only clear in hindsight, when the shadows have already fallen and the damage is done. So now the question is, who or what is Indrid Cold? Is he just an urban myth fueled by mass hysteria, a collective hallucination, or is he something very real, just beyond our understanding? One thing is clear, the legend spread. And over the decades, reports began surfacing in England, Brazil, and even Japan. People describing the same figure, a smiling man always dressed formally, always appearing in strange places with a grin that seems physically impossible, sometimes on the street, sometimes in dreams, and sometimes inside their homes. Which brings us to the present. Today, forums like Reddit are filled with modern accounts of smiling figures. They no longer need flying saucers to arrive. They appear out of nowhere, on surveillance footage and distorted video files in reflections, always smiling, never speaking. The one constant remains, if you look too long he'll notice, and then, the smile grows wider. So next time you're walking alone at night, and you see someone standing perfectly still, staring at you with a frozen grin, don't smile back, because it might not be a man, it might not be from this world, and it might not let you return.